Welcome everyone to the EOS Fireside Chat for April 19th, 2023. We got an epic show for you today. Some of the biggest news we've ever covered on the Fireside. We got two of these biggest news today. And on top of that, we've got some updates from Yves, founder and CEO of the EOS Network Foundation. He just came back from a 10-day trip to Hong Kong for the Web3 Festival. So he's live here with us to share his thoughts and comments about that. Of course, one of the two biggest news of the week, DWF Labs invests $60 million into the EOS network. We're talking about that big announcement. Of course, the other big event, EOS EVM, finally live on the mainnet. We'll be talking about that launch, how it went, hear your feedback, who's been using it, etc. So that's very exciting. And then we've got a special guest, Charles Holtzkamp, founder of Sentnl, is joining us today on the Fireside. He's going to be here to talk about the EOS EVM Audit and some other interesting products and tools that Sentnl has been working on. Then we're moving on, highlighting a new series called Powered by EOS that's been published on the EOS Network Foundation blog. So far, we've got Chintai and Defibox up on there. Hypha DAO beta was also announced this week. Signups are live now. We're going to be talking Yield Plus March report as well. We've got another special guest with Gelvan, the creator of SOV Invaders, going to be with us on Fireside to talk EOS GameFi. Effect AI updates are coming with DJSTRIKANOVA. We got Pomelo lore updates. Sign up for the astronaut ordinal mission is closing in 24 hours. And then, of course, we finish up the show with the community open mic where we invite you guys to share your comments, questions, updates, whatever it is. And then we get to sometimes into some off-topic banter. And then the Discord only after party that always has music and sometimes has singing. But before we get into all of that good stuff, let me tell you a bit about what EOS is all about. EOS is a layer 1 smart contract platform that's governed by its community and the only crypto network that had its foundation emerge organically from within the community years after the launch of the network. Ever since the EOS network took its fate into its own hands by stopping the vesting of the tokens originally allocated for Block 1 and instead establishing the EOS Network Foundation, the network has seen a profusion of initiatives being researched and deployed in the last 18 months. We're talking Pomelo crowdfunding platform launch, Yield Plus, Recover Plus, grant framework launches. There was an Antelope rebrand of the EOSIO blockchain protocol. Then the Antelope Coalition was formed with EOS, Telos, Wax, UX, and then the EOS Independence Day declared in September 2022 when we officially moved on to our own community-owned blockchain protocol. The EOS Roadshow started at the end of 2022. We had the ENF, we had Zack, we had other community members out there in the crypto space sharing the EOS narrative with the wider crypto space. That's continuing this year. And then on top of that, we've got some nice technical launches like the Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol, Trustless, that is now live on EOS and other Antelope chains. The EOS EVM just launched this week. EOS Network Ventures also in the works, and some big partnerships with Binance, Messari, Poussin, and a bunch of other big names in the crypto space. It's kind of epic when you think about it, everything that's going on. And in case you're new here or you've been with us for a while, there's still many EOS funding opportunities available today, from content creators to developers. It's important to take a look at the new EOS and find out how you can get funded while adding value to our EOS ecosystem. So in case it wasn't yet crystal clear, EOS is in the midst of an epic narrative reversal, and hashtag the new EOS has the potential to become the biggest comeback story of 2023. My name is Stephane. I'm one of the co-founders of EOS Nation. We're currently a top-ranked block producer on EOS and other Antelope chains, and I'm happy and honored to be your host today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Discord. Almost 60 people live with us already. That's great. We're also streamed live on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. We got Dave on the production tables, getting some great animations, sharing the links across all the socials, and making sure everyone can participate in this fireside, even if you're not in the Discord. If you are with us on Discord, join me on stage, unmute your mic, share a comment, reaction, whatever it is. That's great. Share those images of antelopes jumping around in fields in the text chat on Discord. We love that as well as emoji reactions, all that good stuff. All right. Before we get into the big topics of the day, quick reminder, pop token giveaway going on while the Fireside chat is active for members of the Discord server. Pop bot chat is where you can claim yours. Last week's pop tokens have not been sent out yet, but they will be in time for the monthly raffle that's going to be going on in 2 weeks. All right, enough of this intro, enough of the agenda. Let's get into the good stuff. So let's just go right into it and see if Yves Larose, founder and CEO of the EOS Network Foundation, is available to talk to us about his trip in Hong Kong.
I'm half asleep, but I am here.
There you go. Hopefully that wakes you up a bit.
Oh my God, now I'm awake. Yeah, so I just came back from Hong Kong. Hong Kong trip was very, very fruitful. I guess there's multiple things to talk about. So I'll just go out in different sections. One is the ENF was able to meet with government officials. We've met with 2 separate government agencies, one being Invest Hong Kong, the other one being Cyberport. Invest Hong Kong is, I guess, has a mandate, or taking a step back, one of the things that was apparent this time around anyways is that this strategy of Hong Kong reopening to Web3 and having a presence in Web3 was definitely coordinated from Beijing down. And so instead of having different agencies kind of operating on their own in silo, there's definitely a coordinated approach. And so definitely top-down coordinated approach, but also supported by grassroots, which was really, really good. One of the things that I can attest to and that I heard from other people was that this is probably the closest that it's felt like to 2017, 2018, which is saying quite a lot. This was quite, it was really good, really amazing in terms of energy, in terms of stakeholders present, developers, builders, investors. Hong Kong being an international hub and just having a lot of strong presence there in general. EOS being obviously having a very strong presence in China, China having a very strong presence in blockchain, and then just being fully supported at every level, I think was really, really good and really incredible. So going back to Invest Hong Kong and Cyberport, these 2 government agencies have very clearly defined roles of what they do and how they're supporting Web3. Cyberport is like Cyberport itself is like a campus with multiple buildings. And so you've got, picture this large area with large buildings, about 4 or 5 different buildings, and they host companies from Web 1, Web 2, and now they've got a dedicated area that there's going to be Web 3 in there. And so you have a lot of collaboration between industry, academia, and the government all in one locations with a lot of different space. And so they're able to host hackathons, they're able to host events, they're able to host a lot of in-person collaboration within a very specific space and an area of Hong Kong Island. And so with this opening to Web3, it means that, and for those who didn't know, we have a team in Hong Kong. We actually have shared office space in Hong Kong. It means that people relocating to the Cyberport facilities will be able to benefit from that collaboration between industry, academia, Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. In ways that weren't possible before, and all sponsored by the government and all, I guess, approved by the government. So that's really good. So we met with them, talked about how we can play a role in there, how we can help facilitate that, what they can do for us, what type of subsidies are made available, what type of help and that we could receive from them in order to benefit from those facilities, but also from the investment opportunities from being there. And so that then leads me kind of to the more the invest HK side of things. where we met with the officials there. Same thing, very coordinated approach. They have 3 different schemes that are made available. One being subsidies for employees, whereby you can get up to a certain amount of employees, their salaries subsidized. And the top end of the number is 32,000 Hong Kong dollars per month. I don't know the exact amount in USD, but it's around 5 or 6K USD per month per employee subsidy. And so it's quite significant, or it can be quite significant. There's also a rent subsidy program. So obviously real estate in Hong Kong is incredibly expensive. So you could get some space in Cyberport, which is one of the campuses, and the rents there, if you're approved in the programs, are incredibly cheap and basically negligible compared to what you're paying in the middle of the city. And it's just outside the city, about 15, 20 minutes away. So Hong Kong Island's very small. And so quite advantages there. But then outside of Cyberport, there's also another tech park in Hong Kong. And this is where Invest HK then can offer subsidies. And I don't recall the exact amounts. We took it down, but give or take, I think it's between 3 to 5 million Hong Kong dollars per year worth of grant subsidies for rental locations to set up office space. And so can offset essentially the majority, if not all, of your rental costs. So that's pretty good. And then the third component to that is grant subsidies for research and development. So if more than 50% of your staff in Hong Kong does work that can be attributed to research and development in the Web3 space or fintech space, or there's a few others, but in our case, that's what's relevant, then you can get between 10 to 20 million Hong Kong dollars over a period of 3 years applied to the work that you're doing within that space, which applies definitely to us. And so we're going to try to get some of those subsidies. We already have a corporation there. We already have bank accounts there. We already have staff there. So we'll try to go through the process ourselves, working with the government agencies. And the idea behind that is if we're able to go through that, and if we're able to essentially access some of those subsidies, then we'll try to make those subsidies available to our community members too. So one of the things we heard a lot in Hong Kong was people from mainland China trying to set up offices in Hong Kong. And one of the things we heard from Invest Hong Kong and the government agencies is they just don't have the capacity to walk everybody through hand by hand through those processes. And so we can help bridge that gap. And the government agencies were very, very clear that if we can play an active role in helping basically make that available to people, that we can be, and they would be glad for us to be a trusted partner on that front. So that can be a win-win for EOS, for the EOS ecosystem, for developers, for people setting up shop there, and for the ENF as well, to help facilitate access to those subsidies. And so there's definitely good synergies on that front. So that's more kind of on the government agency subsidies side of things. On the business side of things, Hong Kong definitely felt like a big business meeting. I was in meetings nonstop for the entirety of the time that I was there. And it was just nonstop, one by one. Tons of developers, tons of builders, tons of VCs. It was, as I mentioned before, this is the closest that it's felt like to 2017, 2018. And that's saying quite a lot. I've never said that before about any event or any location since. And so it's definitely a location that we want to have a stronger presence in. It was also very obvious that Hong Kong being closed over the last couple of years due to policy from mainland China and I guess due to COVID reasons as well, that Hong Kong as a city took a big hit globally in terms of its finances, et cetera. And so reopening essentially to Web3 is a strategy directed down that was told to us by the government agencies direct from Beijing. And so trying to position Hong Kong somewhat as a special economic zone over the next couple of years as a place, basically as a hub, so that mainland China has access to Web3 for financial services, for token issuance as well, for basic innovation, et cetera, is, as I mentioned, a top-down directive, and it's very much coordinated. And so there's tons of synergies there. Definitely somewhere where we'll want to spend more time, where I'm already planning my next visit. I'll likely be going down at the end of June before going to Japan. I'm speaking at an event in Japan, and so I'll be going down to Hong Kong prior to that. I'll likely also be going back in September. It's somewhere where EOS historically has had very positive presence, and now that let's say China is reopening up, so to speak, it's somewhere where we want to be there from the beginning in multiple ways, and so very, very positive on that front. In terms of innovation, in terms of the quality of the people that were there, I was fortunate enough to be able to get invited to a bunch of different side events. For example, the Binance VIP party. CZ actually made a guest appearance on screen, but he was there for about 25 minutes or so, answered questions from the crowd. We actually had somebody from the EOS community that asked one of the questions, one of the VPs that was there that asked a question to CZ. And so just kind of the energy there as well, the people that were at that event, different type of basically stakeholders that were there, having EOS as a presence there, very fruitful, very positive. If you look back at 2017, 2018 and the ICO, and I don't know what the exact number is, but it's probably close to 100% of the people within that region participate in EOS somehow. I mean, the ICO was so massive. And so a lot of people had a narrative. They already had an image of what EOS was, what EOS is. And so being able to speak to people one by one at the highest level for some of those stakeholders in very key meetings is still definitely part of our rebranding process. Spending that time basically with Big Beard, as they called me, is something that we need to do more of and is very fruitful. So they like the brand, they like the narrative, they like the shift. Obviously, the ecosystem has changed since then, but the new approach, being very much humble, having a track record, being reliable, still being very performant, is something that definitely people are talking about, and we're seeing more and more people re-enter the space in very tangible ways. And so that was really good. Also, areas that we need to address or gaps that we need to close. And focus on, not necessarily within that particular region, but just in general as an organization within the ENF and as a community, areas that we still need to work on to attract more external investment / more developers, etc., more presence externally. There's things that were mentioned that we that we need to definitely get better at. And developer outreach is definitely one of them. Communication within the Chinese community as well in terms of documentation, etc. Definitely one of them. Shorter lag times, for example, in processes such as the grant framework. Mentioned that the processes themselves are really great. We just need to amplify even more. So everything that we've been doing, very successful. We just need to do more of it and become even more efficient. So it's really a lot of positive and at the same time, a lot of really good feedback. And so going at I'm gonna mute. And so just overall, really, really good feedback. Talking with, obviously a big part of this as well was to meet with potential strategic partners and opening doors to applications that might want to deploy on EOS and looking at what they're needing, etc. From a GameFi space. So reinforcing again what we heard at this point, it's kind of a given, but it's really good to hear it again, that the direction of GameFi and what people are seeing in terms of investment in GameFi and attraction of applications coming through GameFi and coming through that front, definitely reinforced while we were there. So whether it be gaming studios in the Web2 space that are looking to deploy in Web3 and leverage Web3, we definitely heard a lot of people doing so, getting some feedback in terms of what they're looking for, user onboarding being a very key aspect of that, lowering the barrier for usability for those gamers and for those gaming studios. So, things that we're doing, for example, WharfKit, just SDKs in general, custodian wallets, just this idea of lowering the barrier to users as more users will come in, and those users not necessarily being familiar with Web3, and also not necessarily coming for perhaps the reasons why some people think might be attracting to Web3. More on the asset side of things, less so on the decentralization side of things. A lot of the users and a lot of the game studios are looking at the inherent properties of blockchain, but by removing, or while not necessarily putting at the forefront the blockchain side of things, if that makes sense. And so really good input, really good feedback there. Outside of that, I think I think that kind of covers it all. I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff, and some people might ask questions that might bring back more items or whatnot. But overall, extremely positive trip. Definitely worthwhile. Definitely a place that we want to have a bigger presence in. Definitely a lot of support for EOS. Definitely a lot of old support now being interested again. Definitely worthwhile.
Very cool, very exciting. I've got a couple comments, but maybe I'd like to hear from the crowd first. We got 87 people in here already. That's awesome, nearing our all-time highs. Yeah, so if any of you have questions or comments about some of the things that you just said, would love to hear from you guys. Jump on over to the stage.
Hey, Yves, Rhett here. We were together in Paris. I was curious whether you find Paris or Hong Kong more positive. I found Paris very positive, so just as a reference in your scale thinking.
Not even comparable.
Okay, so
Hong
that means
Kong
very positive.
Is by far an area that we need to spend more time, and that was incredibly more, I think, beneficial for EOS than Paris. Not even close.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
You also need to put it in perspective, the amount of people that are located in Asia, just sheer population, sheer amount of developers, sheer amount of capital, dwarfs, for example, Paris in this example. It's just not even close. Where I was staying right by the exhibition center where the events were held, and the amount of meetings that I end up having just because I'm meeting people in the elevator on my way to a meeting, or I'm having a meeting and somebody else beside me is having a meeting, and we notice that both of us are continuously having meetings nonstop, and so then we decide to talk to each other, and then we have meetings. Or the first 2 days that I was there, I'm having breakfast and people recognize me because of Big Beard, and then we end up having meetings. Or I'm walking out on the street and somebody recognizes me because they're part of the EOS community. I think I shared the first night I was even just entering the hotel and somebody recognized me and started asked for a picture. Just, you can't compare. Just the amount of people that are there just dwarfs everywhere else. And so everything is just, I'm not American, but one thing I hear as a Canadian in America is everything is bigger in Texas. Well, kind of that same applies to Asia. Everything's just way bigger. There's just way more people in Asia. There's just way more capital, more developers within the blockchain space in general. Proportionally, there's just even more people there that are within the space. Just nowhere near. You just can't compare.
The most surprising thing to me is this feeling I have of being jealous of the freedoms that people in Hong Kong have to chase opportunities in Web3 and build companies and not have to worry about payment rails being shut down and banking accounts being shut down. And here I am in Canada feeling like I need to escape to Hong Kong to be really able to do the things that I want to do. Kind of a crazy feeling to have, but at the same time, very exciting, super exciting recap that you gave us there, Yves. I'm super excited for the future of blockchain, Web3. Love the fact that some regions in the world are embracing blockchain and Web3 and are being welcoming to companies, while other regions in the world, like the United States and Canada, that just follows the United States. So good to see some regulatory arbitrage opportunities may be available for all of us here building blockchain companies. maybe we need to, set up a shared EOS space in Hong Kong. Sounds pretty exciting to me. Anyone else have some thoughts or questions for Yves about the Hong Kong trips? I'm sure, Yves, are you able to stay with us for a little bit longer? We got some other exciting topics that you can maybe provide some insights into as well. While we're talking about events, quick reminder, Consensus kickoff event going on in less than a week on Tuesday 25th in Austin for the Consensus conference out there. ENF is hosting an event. And then there's also another event that I heard about that ENF China is organizing with the Wiki Finance EXPO of Singapore at the end of May. So I don't know if anyone on the ENF team has some extra information they can share about that. That's another kind of event news that popped up on my feed recently. Maybe not. I can share a tweet here, just sharing that EOS Foundation China is going to be a partner for this conference, so that's always cool to see. And I'm sure we'll learn more about this in the coming weeks as this conference nears. All right, let's move on to some other big pieces of news. There you go, Julie coming in clutch, sharing the welcome page for the kickoff to Consensus event. Awesome. All right, we've got two huge news this week. Of course, DWF Labs invests $60 million in the EOS network, and also the EVM goes live. So I'm wondering, which news do you think is more important or a bigger deal? Let's see some numbers in the chat. 6 if you think it's the $60 million investment, and 1 if you think it's going from 0 to 1 EVM on the network. Got a couple of early 1 votes. EOS EVM in the lead. We got Lewis spamming 16 times the number 6. We got Reset with the 6 as well. A couple more number 1s. Feels like EOS EVM is in the lead right now. So we'll definitely be talking more about EOS EVM a bit later on in the show, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But for now, I did want to touch upon the other big news. DWF Labs invests $60 million into the EOS network. I've got a tweet here from Yves that I can share in the chat if you hadn't heard about this announcement yet. Basically, the tweet reads, breaking news, DWF Labs announced a $60 million strategic partnership with the EOS Network Foundation. As per the agreement, DWF Labs will purchase $45 million of EOS tokens and deploy $15 million into EOS projects. Valued at $60 million plus, it's the largest investment of external capital EOS has received. Yes, sir. So I don't know, Yves, is there more you can share about this strategic partnership that maybe hasn't been shared yet on social media? I know Yves and ENF made a couple posts, the DWF Labs as well. But yeah, I would love to hear more insights on that deal and some of the things we can expect.
I mean, the tweets really highlight the core of it. I guess I can share more outside of, how this came about, et cetera. And I did kind of tease at that in one of the tweets, where I talked about how they actually reached out to us. When I went to Busan for the MOU signing last September, at an after event with the mayor's office, and other partners that were there, like Foresight Ventures, OKX Ventures, Coinus, etc. There was this guy that came, I think it was like 1 a.m. or so, and he came, introduced himself, and at the time, no idea who he was, introduced himself, said, hey, we've been trying to follow you, we'd like to talk to you, but there was a bunch of other people there, and it was very noisy. It was 1 a.m. It was in a kind of a restaurant type of setting. Didn't really think much of it. And a few weeks later, when I went to Singapore, that same gentleman came and said, "Hey, I've been following you. I've been following basically your travel schedule, and I'm here. I would like to talk to you." And I think that was the first time I'd heard of DWF and started looking into them. So I started asking around, who is DWF? What are they about? And at that time, none of the investments that they've been making in the last months or so were public. I mean, they were still relatively unknown, so to speak. But that's that was the second time that they followed me, and we very briefly talked. But again, people approaching us like that, it is quite frequent. I mean, everybody said, "Hey, I've got people and they'd like to invest," and blah blah blah. I hear that all the time, and it really very rarely leads to anything. The third time was in South Korea when I was there in December, and I spoke at an event at a meetup. And after that meetup, now there was the same person, but with another person. And we spoke for about an hour. And then they introduced themselves, and then they really went to detail on what they're looking to do and who they are and how the function of, because DWF is, I guess they fulfill multiple roles, but one of their largest roles is as a market maker, and how differently they are as a market maker. And so the traditional, kind of a little bit of more history here, market makers within the Web3 space, even just going back 2 years or so, was kind of a taboo subject. So market makers in the regular financial industry are regulated. They're quite useful. They're key components of providing liquidity. Like it's a useful thing to have, and they're definitely a function that people need and that people want. And within the Web3 space, even just a few years back, it was kind of a taboo thing to talk about. Now that's been normalized over the last couple of years, and you've got large players within the space that basically own 100% of that market share, so to speak, of that function within the space. And DWF is a new player within this space, and they're a different type of player. And so traditional market makers typically operate on token loan models. And so you loan them a certain amount of token, and we've been in talks with a lot of them for a while now. Typically, they'll want something like 5% of your entire token supply, that type of thing. So in our case, that would be 50 million tokens. So that would be traditional market makers, and usually those are loan arrangements and such. But in the traditional finance, there's also what are called prop shops, and DWF is a prop shop. What that means is they typically will own their own assets, and they will market make with assets that belong to them. They will typically take, and if you want to follow, I don't know if Zack, you can link, but Andre, the managing partner at DWF, has laid out multiple posts over the last 2 weeks or so, explaining kind of what they do, what kind of services they provide, what role they play in the ecosystem, et cetera. And there's one of them that really goes into detail in terms of their vision, their philosophy, how they do this, what type of functionality they provide. As a prop shop, they own their own assets, and so they are able to take more risk with their assets because, well, it's their assets. And that's the same thing in traditional finance. Prop shops are typically the most profitable entities because they can take higher risk because they're operating with their own assets, not somebody else's assets. They will typically be more of a taker position than a maker position. And so it's just a different philosophy. It's just a different way of operating. But within our Web3 realm, prop shops are relatively new. And so this, right now they're definitely stepping on people's toes because traditional market makers have had 100% of the market. And now you've got this new player coming in that is well-funded, and it's now taking a completely different approach. It is a more liquid approach. It is a more aggressive approach. It's definitely, the type of investments that they can make and the terms that they can make are definitely more favorable to the projects on the other side of things. So I can't really go into into full detail on everything that entails, but I can share that, for example, all the terms that we laid out over the last 5-6 months or so in coming to negotiations with them all stem from us. Essentially, we drafted all of the terms. They did not. Because we were definitely in a favorable position, and EOS is seen, and I've mentioned this before, if EOS was somewhat seen as what was the term I use? A distressed asset previously, EOS is now definitely seen in the space as an undervalued asset, which put us definitely in a position of negotiating power, so to speak. And so we were able to draft the agreements. We were able to draft agreements that definitely set EOS in a favorable position. As we mentioned, there's a token purchase component side of things, which obviously gives confidence in the project itself. There's an external investment side of things in terms of the strategic partnership. So they announced the 15 million. That 15 million is actually also backed with liquidity provision within the project that they invest in. So that's one thing that we mentioned in the past. If you recall, when I did rant videos a year or so ago, one of the big issues with token listings and with projects being able to be listed is the lack of liquidity within those projects. So we ensured that within those investments that there's also going to be a liquidity provision side of things. Obviously, because they're a big player now and they've got a lot of contacts, then the token listings and the capacity to have that leverage is also included in there. The media coverage and that media side of things, which is also very important in a strategic partnership, is there. And so this is a multi-pronged strategic partnership on multiple fronts over a lengthy period of time that definitely positions EOS as in a favorable position. And so we're extremely pleased about this. I've mentioned this even internally to the ENF. People didn't know about this. We've been working on this. I've been working on this for about 6 months now, 5-6 months. If you count September as the beginning of this, then it's even 7 months. I'm surprised this didn't leak. I'm surprised nobody knew about this. I dropped a bunch of nuggets. I know last week, I even before going to Hong Kong, I was putting out some GIFs in the Telegram chat, and that was basically follow the Braille breadcrumbs. Follow the breadcrumbs. Those were those. First one was breadcrumbs. Second one is actually somebody following breadcrumbs. I've been following DWF for a while. I've been retweeting DWF for a while. I've been liking posts of Entree for a while. I've been giving all the signals that this was about to happen, but nobody knew. Nobody actually caught on. Nobody said anything, and I'm surprised that it didn't leak. This is really good. And this really, as I said, is a strategic partnership on multiple fronts, something that we worked on for a very long period of time. And, something that I think is indicative of how the market feels about EOS and what that, what kind of doors that can open to us. Yeah.
So wait, are you happy the news didn't leak, or are you disappointed in us for not figuring?
I'm surprised it didn't leak. I mean, the amount of people that knew were actually quite limited. So obviously, we needed to do due diligence with them. We needed, there was legal involved, there was some operations involved, there was finance involved. In preparation for a bunch of different things. There's media involved at some point. We even had it under embargo, and that's a completely different story. But the news was actually supposed to release way before that, and unfortunately, last minute, the media side of things kind of crumbled down. So we needed to change our strategy. It was under embargo. It was an exclusive story, but then because we shopped it around, then we no longer had it as exclusive. Everything that could have gone wrong in the sense of it leaking definitely happened, and it didn't. So I'm definitely happy that it didn't, because the idea was to announce this alongside EVM. Like, the idea was to make a big splash out of this just before going to Hong Kong, and then leveraging that EVM afterwards, etc. And I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm surprised that it didn't leak, but I'm very happy that it didn't leak.
Very cool, very cool. So last trip, you guys announced a $20 million fund for EOS EVM projects, which we'll be talking about later on. This trip, you announced this big announcement. When's your next trip, Yves?
I'm heading to Japan at the end of June.
There you go. All right. Well, you know what we expect then. Quick question about the actual details of this money. So you say, just want to make sure that I understand. So you say that DWF actually buys the tokens. So they've purchased $45 million worth of tokens. Who's holding the $45 million at this point?
That is not the case. I am not going to necessarily go in the full detail of things, but it is a token purchase over a period of time. And there are conditions whereby their incentives. Yeah, I'm just going to stop there. There are conditions whereby their incentives for this to be favorable for both parties.
Okay. Cool. And the deal is signed with the fund manager for the EOS Network Ventures, or is it?
Has nothing to do with the EOS Network Ventures. This is completely on the ENF side of things.
Okay. All right. There you go. Okay, cool. Thanks for that clarification. And thanks for that.
There's a few little nuggets that I think you could add, Yves. So the idea that there were multiple options, and ultimately the ENF decided to go with DWF Labs. That's never been the case before, where you actually have...
We actually had multiple people shopping and multiple parties interested, and essentially DWF won the bid. Correct.
Which means it was the best terms, most favorable to the EOS token holders. I think that's very important because, like you've said, that going from a distressed asset to, I can't remember that word you used. Undervalued, yeah. And just like, think about it from a market maker standpoint. Market makers make markets. EOS is already listed on over 200 exchanges. That's like a dream for a market maker. That's so much trading activity that they could provide liquidity for and earn revenue from. And then you think about EOS, its status as a pristine collateral. You could collateralize EOS on every major exchange that offers derivatives and options trading. So that's a huge value add, because it means that not only could you market make with that capital, but you could put that capital to work to borrow more capital to put that capital to work also. So EOS is now seen by multiple funds as a very strong asset, and it all led to very favorable terms. And I guess I can't speak too much
to address in the chat, like the need to tank the price then they buy. No, that just think about that for a second. That would make absolutely no sense, and it would go against our mandate. It's the complete opposite.
All right. Good stuff. Gonna give it another couple seconds for anyone from the crowd. If you guys have questions or comments, I'd love to hear it. 91 people in the chat. What's up? Oh, I'm definitely muted. Of course I'm muted. God damn it. You were slow on the heads up there, Dave. But anyways, so I was just saying how we can't just wait around doing nothing for too long, because there's lots of stories to cover while we were just waiting around doing nothing. So next up, our lead-in story for the EOS EVM launch We're going to be talking about the EOS EVM audit with Charles, the founder of Sentnl. So Charles, if you're around, I'd like to invite you to the stage and officially welcome you to the Fireside for the first time.
Thank you, Steph.
I know I told you that we'd maybe get around to your topic at around 3:30, but yeah, I was off by just almost 100% on that estimate. But glad that you can still be with us. And yeah, so if you can talk to us a bit about yourself, who you are, a bit of history of Sentnl, and what you guys are working on these days.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot to talk about. Thank you, Yves, for doing all your bits for EOS. Amazing work, as always. Yeah, so I was been with the community, EOS community, since basically the beginning. I was first part of a block producer called EOS 42, where we created Chintai, which is still going, of course, with David leading the way. I then left EOS 42, just took a bit of a break from life, but got bored and came back to EOS, and I was always sort of interested in the security side, in general security, and then started up Sentnl, and what we do basically is we do smart contract audits for Ethereum and EOSIO, and we also do EVM fuzzing. And so yeah, we were asked to audit the EOS EVM, the Trust EVM, which is very interesting because we've audited so many EVMs in our time, and this was the first EVM we've ever audited where we found no bugs. And just to put that in perspective, the person who audits these EVMs is a guy called Franken, and you can look him up on the Ethereum bug bounty board. He's the #1 bug bounty hacker on Ethereum. So top of the list. He knows everything about Ethereum, and he specializes in EVM fuzzing, you can say. And
What is that for us noobs in the crowd?
The fuzzing part.
Yeah.
So the fuzzing is basically you point various random bits of everything, text, anything you can imagine. They call it a corpus. So we'd have this massive, large database of inputs that we just throw at an EVM, and to see if we can make it crash, hang, execute something it shouldn't execute. And then when it does something where it's not supposed to do, we look into the code to see where there's a problem in the EVM. That's sort of the basis of fuzzing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So we did the EVM audit, we did the fuzzing, and then we found nothing. So, and I still remember Hidu phoning me. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and he's from Netherlands, and he was very worried. He said, "Charles, I didn't find any bugs." And I was like, "Well, are you sure, Hidu? Have you checked everything?" He said, "No, I've checked." And then we did some more, but we didn't find any bugs. So yeah, it's really, I guess I could say it's a really well written code. What's really interesting about it as well is it uses something called Silkworm. And I just give a bit of background of EVM to those who don't know exactly what it does. So when you write a smart contract for Ethereum, you write it in a higher level programming language called Solidity. And what the EVM does is that contract is compiled or decompiled down into what they call bytecode, and then the EVM executes the bytecode, which is basically executing all the actions in the smart contract to make it work. And there's various flavors of EVM out there. Most popular, I'd say, is the Go Ethereum, but there was a new one on the block called Silkworm, which is basically a rewritten EVM, and it's written in C++. And what makes it so special is it's quite a few tests have been done. It's the fastest EVM on the market. It's almost twice as fast as the leading EVM, which most people would use, the Go Ethereum EVM. So it's really, really fast, and I think that really puts EOS in a very favorable position as a EVM-based chain. So I'm just taking a sip of water here.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks for explaining those nuances of Silkworm. I learned something new.
Yeah, it's very it's a great implementation. It's written in C++, so which works great for EOS, because EOS is written in C++, so it's a nice little marriage. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I can say about the EVM.
I mean, that was a great recap of it. Especially like hearing that you said it's the first time that you guys don't find bug in an EVM. I feel like that deserves some sound effects for the top quality EOS ENF engineers and everyone else who worked on that code. So that's pretty awesome.
No,
Before
definitely.
Charles leaves, I just want to give a shout out to Charles and his team. The timelines that we gave you guys to work with were extremely tight. Obviously, maybe not even realistic, but you guys pulled through and you ensured that our launch was able to launch on time. And so a huge kudos to Charles and his team. The ENF at this point has leveraged your services on multiple occasions and just stellar. And so anybody looking for auditing services, I'm doing a plug here for Sentnl. Definitely go to Sentnl. For fuzzing services, definitely top notch, world class. And for auditing in general, just stellar team. So good job and thank you very much, Charles.
Thank you, Yves. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean.
All right, let me share some relevant links here in the chat. Sentnl.io, Sentnl.io. In case you're listening, you want to go visit the website. And then I was browsing your Twitter earlier today, and there's some cool updates and AI tools that you guys have been talking about. So I'd love to hear more about those.
Yeah, so we've. I don't know if anyone's familiar with what's been going on AI, but something came out a couple of months ago, which is ChatGPT, which I'm sure loads of people have played with, which is essentially they call these things LLMs, which is basically a large language model, and it's been trained on various things like the English language, coding languages like C++, Python, etc. You can ask it to write your poetry, write your code, and the list goes on. So we were quite interested to see how it would fare if we gave it a smart contract, how good it would be to find the vulnerabilities. And unfortunately, it's not that great, but it does sort of do a okayish jobs. It gets a lot of stuff wrong. It hallucinates at times, so it will mark something as a vulnerability when it's not a vulnerability. But so we thought about, okay, what could we take this model and can we fine tune it? And you can actually fine tune it. So we are going to try for the next 6 months. We're going to work with the open AI model and some of the open source models to see if we throw enough data at this model, and these that's called the data set. So what you do is you sort of decompose the vulnerability into different components, as in, here's the vulnerable code, this is why it's vulnerable, here's the fix for the vulnerable code, and a little bit of description of what the fix does, and you sort of put that into what we call a data set. You collect as many examples as you can, and then you feed it into these LLMs, and it's called fine-tuning. So you sort of add additional knowledge to its existing knowledge. And we're going to see if we can train these models up to be better at vulnerability spotting. And we're going to do it for EOSIO and so EOSIO smart contracts and Solidity, and see what happens. And So based on what you saw on my Twitter, is we've written a tool which is on our GitHub repo, which basically is sort of like a GitHub CI/CD tool. So every time you update your code on GitHub, you can run this action, and it will take your smart contract, feed it into OpenAI's LLM model, and then it will give you a list of vulnerabilities. But as I say, it's not very good at the minute. But we're going to see if we can improve it. Hopefully, we've got 6 months to do it. So I've hired a machine learning engineer to see if he can make it happen. He's confident. I'm not so confident. That's just because it gets complicated, I think. But he reckons he can pull it off.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, we've definitely chatted about AI on the Fireside before. We had a ChatGPT discussion the other day.
Yeah.
And anytime you want to come back to give us some updates on how your AI quest is going on to, integrate AI and debugging Antelope code, definitely welcome back anytime. And yeah, thanks for joining us today and sharing about the great work that you guys are doing.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me, Steph.
If you have more to share, definitely feel free to share. If anyone in the crowd here wants to step in, ask a question, share a comment, yeah, we can do that as well.
I have a quick question for you, Charles. First of all, your plugin looks dope. I can't wait to try this. Second of all, if someone listening had a smart contract in Solidity or for EOS that's say 80 to 100 lines, I'm just making up a number. Sounds kind of long for Solidity, but how much would that cost for you guys to audit? I'm just curious, order of magnitude, maybe.
So you're saying 800 lines or 100 lines?
100, 80 to 100, something on that.
Okay. I think so. We generally do for Ethereum. We could probably do 750 lines a day. For EOS, I'd say 500 lines a day. So it'll be a day. So you're looking at $2,000 probably.
Thanks.
Cool.
The guy that did, Charles, thank you. The Dutch guy that did the audit originally also did the bounty hunt when the first release of EOSIO was done. And maybe some of you know that I'm Dutch as well, so I was very interested in the Dutch guy that I think he found $5 in the original, and there was a bug bounty for $10,000 per bug. And I've been all my life in the cybersecurity space and didn't know this Dutch guy, so it was very, very interesting to see a Dutch guy win $50,000 at the original code base.
Yeah, he was great. They
5, like 4, or maybe it could be 4 or something, but it was more than one, definitely.
Yeah, I think it was. I sort of remember was I might be wrong. I thought it was 8, but it was definitely 5 or more. Yeah. They actually offered him a job as well. Yeah, they actually offered him a job, but he wasn't interested.
I know he lives in the south of the Netherlands. I contacted him. So interesting guy.
Yeah,
he's a really, really interesting guy. Yeah.
He's infamous. Everyone at B1 knew about that person. I was like, I had just joined the company, and I was like, man, this guy made more this month than I will in a year. I'm like, oh, I messed up. I should not have joined because I was not eligible for bug bounties. And they offered him a job because they were like, he's finding so many things. Like they were trying to save money, and he didn't take it because he's smart. So we knew who he was.
And at the end of the day, he didn't do very special things. He just took basically the OWASP list and matched it against the code base. So you could have done that internally. It's not rocket science, but it was fun to see 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a very clever boy when it comes to fuzzing. He does a lot of bug bounties on the side as well. I think that's why he doesn't like working for anyone, because I use him all the time, but he doesn't work directly for me. He acts as a consultant to me, but we have a good relationship. But yeah.
Now we're on the topic of this. We spoke about AI just a few seconds ago, and testing that. Solidity automatically translated in C++. Did you guys do some testing, or anybody do some testing on that? So language translations.
Oh, I've done not from Solidity to EOSIO. No, I've done JavaScript to Python. And it's okay, but I think it really I just find generally it falls down. Even when you ask it questions about coding, it falls down when it's really complex questions. And so when I did the JavaScript to Python, it was okay with the basics, but when it became a bit complicated, it couldn't do it properly.
Yeah, we probably need to wait for version 5.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, are you guys using version 4? Like, even with 3.5, I've had pretty good luck. Like, I've found that it will confidently state things that are incorrect, but it will usually converge on a correct solution in about 3 iterations at the most. I mean, I don't know. I've had good luck personally, but.
So would we see, instead of EVMs, like automatic AI translation in the future? Real time?
I don't know. I don't think so. But even if it was possible, it would be way too slow.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about the taking the Solidity and turning it back into bytecode for execution?
Yeah.
You could probably train it to do that, but I think it would be very slow in executing that. But I think if you train it properly, you could most definitely take a Solidity contract and
just translate it and then run it. We're in an interesting time at the moment, where all these crossroads of development come together. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's non-stop, is it, AI? It's hard to keep up, actually.
Yeah.
I'm happy someone's trying to keep up on behalf of the Antelope protocol in terms of security stuff. On that, actually, I noticed this morning when I was looking at your tweets that you guys use EOSIO in most of your tweets. Any way you can add Antelope in there, or maybe just remove EOSIO completely from those tweets in the future?
Are you referring to me, Charles?
Yes, you, Charles, in your
of course.
tweets.
I can.
That'd be great. It's just
so mention
bad taste in my mouth anytime I read these 5 letters together. You know, it's just
fine.
Something about it.
I'll do that.
All right. Well, awesome, Charles, and thanks again for coming on the Fireside. Super interesting conversation. I learned some things. I'm sure many people learned things as well, and looking forward to having you on again for some AI updates from Sentnl.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, great. Okay, moving on to our main story of the day. EOS EVM finally launched and live on the EOS mainnet. So the EOS EVM went live Thursday night, my time, April 14th. I got up on Friday morning, prepping the Hot Sauce weekly news show that I host on the EOS Nation YouTube channel, where I cover a lot of the same news that we cover here on the Fireside. I kind of get through it in 20 minutes. For those of us those of you that don't have 2 hours or more to spend with us every week, you can get your news in 20 minutes there. And then so I tried out the trustless bridge to transfer over tokens from my Steph EOS native account to my newly created Ethereum public key account on the EOS EVM. It went smoothly. First time, just very simple, very easy for me to understand. Of course, lightning fast, as always, when you're dealing with EOS transactions. And then I was like, all right, screw it. I'm going to do this live during the Hot Sauce broadcast. It was kind of nerve-wracking a bit, doing live demos less than 24 hours after such a big product launch. But you know, all the other upgrades that I've seen in my time in EOS here over the last almost 5 years, they've always gone smoothly. I've never had a problem using the network. So I figured, why would this be different? So I was like, let's run it live during the hot sauce. I created my new Ethereum key, sent over tokens, connected MetaMask to the EOS EVM network, sent tokens back to EOS native, bang, bang, bang. Everything went smoothly, no hiccups, super fast. And yeah, I was very relieved, you know, that it worked out live on air. So that was kind of my experience so far. And then I bought some EOS toads yesterday, I think, from Rhett, which is actually an OG EOS NFT community member. He was part of our Dream Big collection. If you guys remember, a couple of years ago, one of the first EOS NFT collections to be released with a pack on Atomic Hub. Rhett was part of the collection of artists that helped us create that, and then he launched his new collection, EOS Toads, on the EVM. So I minted a couple toads for myself. Again, very smooth, everything worked first try, lightning fast. And yeah, so that's kind of my impression so far of the EOS EVM. Would love to hear from you guys in the crowd if you've used it, what you've done with it, if you have questions about it. Yeah, let's get into it. I got a bunch of news items as well relating to the EOS EVM launch, bunch of links to share, but I would love for this show to be a bit more interactive and to hear from you guys. So I'm going to give it a few moments, let you guys jump in here on stage with me. No, nobody? Just the crickets? All right, let's get into the news topics then. There was a post on the EOS Network blog. Oh, we got some people here with their mics unmuted. Hard to find when I've got 84 people in this chat to see whose mic I gotta mute. Muted, there we go. Yana stepping in clutch. Awesome, so here we go. So you got a blog post here that shares all of the relevant links that you need to try out the EOS EVM. Got some more links here. Here's a Telegram message link with other information, contract account, RPC endpoints, all that good stuff. And another new form for all the people that are wondering how they can get their share of the $20 million that is available for GameFi projects deploying on the EOS EVM. There's now a form for you guys to sign up and apply for that funding. So I'm going to share that link as well. Cointelegraph featured the launch. Binance featured the launch. Bunch of other crypto sites as well, of course. And yeah, here I'm just going to continue sharing some links. DeFi Llama also now showcasing the EOS EVM TVL, and that's, to be specific, within dApps deployed on the EVM, not the EVM itself. So I didn't check how much EOS we've trustlessly bridged over to the EOS EVM at this point. Last time I checked, we were at 200,000 EOS. I'm sure someone in the crowd can get me an updated number for that soon enough. Token Pocket also announced that you can access the EOS EVM from their app, and they included some nice visual guides to guide you through that process. Very simple, like I said earlier. And if you want to see me sweat through the process live on the hot sauce, here is the link. There we go. Denis coming in clutch with the updated number. 210,000 EOS so far has been trustlessly bridged over to the EOS EVM. Not bad, not bad. I'm sure we'll be seeing this number rise in the coming weeks and months. All right, what else? What else do we have here? Anyone from the crowd want to jump in here, share some thoughts, share their experiences? I'm gonna give it a couple moments here while I look for more links to share with you guys. Another thing we've been talking about actually is trying to make it easier for projects that are deploying on the EOS EVM to introduce themselves to the EOS community. So kind of like we did for the Pomelo grants during our speed dating pitch session here on the Fireside. I'm just going to throw out this open invite. If you've deployed your project on the EOS EVM, you want to come on the Fireside, say hi to the community, share a bit about your project, definitely do that. So you can just join us on the Fireside if you want. You can also reach out to me on socials or fill out a comment in the EOS Fireside chat form, which is also available for anyone who wants to submit questions for the Fireside, questions for specific guests, potential topics you want us to discuss, but maybe you can't be live with us at this time. You can fill out that form. We check that form out every week, and we try to address all of the comments and questions that come in. So there is actually a question that came in last week, not about EOS EVM. We'll be addressing it later on in the show. But if you're an EOS EVM project, you can also use that same form to kind of let us know or let me know about your project, and then we can set a time for you to come share about your project on the Fireside. I do want to warn people, my ability to do due diligences on these projects is going to be very limited. So definitely not an endorsement of any of these projects. I'm sure there's already a bunch of scammers and stuff playing around on the EOS EVM, so definitely buyer beware. But we definitely want to give a chance to the legit projects to come share a bit about themselves and their projects. So for now, we're going to kind of send out this open invitation to EVM projects that want to introduce themselves to the community. Any live projects yet, asks Dave. So there's definitely a bunch of tokens that have been created. Less than a day after, there was over 50 tokens created. Noah Swap from Drew Joy here shares is a swap that is live. However, I'm not sure if the code has been audited yet. And so, these are things that are going to play out over the next couple of weeks. I'm sure there'll be more projects deploying. Probably, I don't know if anyone else from the ENF has more insights into potential projects that are going to be deploying, potentially liquidity that's going to be added on the EOS EVM. But maybe, Zach, if you want to jump in here, share some insights. If you have some, that'd be great.
Sorry, I'm dealing with something on Telegram. What was the question?
No, I was just talking about projects being deployed on the EOS EVM, and if you had any insights of other projects that are going to be deploying, or kind of anything you can share on that topic.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some that haven't made themselves public quite yet. I just made a list of all of the ones. I'm trying to gather all of the information on the projects that have launched, because some of them, like, we knew about in advance. They're either people that have been in the EOS community or people that maybe participated in hackathons. but it's kind of a new situation because we haven't had so many new faces coming to EOS in so long. Just in the planning call for this fireside chat I had with you, we had the same discussion of like, we want to bring projects onto the fireside chat, but we don't know, like I don't want to say like who's legit and who's not legit because there's so many new faces, but we've seen, I'll just read off a list of projects that have deployed so far. So there's Neutro Swap, there's Frog Finance, there's EOS Swap, there's Multi-Chain, there's Outland, there's MetaSwap, there's some meme coins, there's EOS Shib, Ainu, EOS Moon, and a lot of these projects are reaching out directly, asking for different levels of support, simple things like following them on Twitter, joining their Telegram groups. So I guess I do want to make a note here because at first I was hesitant to follow some of the projects because they're brand new. I don't necessarily know them like very well, like I know most of you on this call. But we are going to take a more relaxed approach and try to support the entire ecosystem the best we can and just monitor and remove any bad actors as they're kind of uncovered, so to speak. So if you do see the ENF account following any of these new projects, it is not an endorsement. Please, like everyone, use any project at your own risk. Don't put capital into something that you don't trust, that's not audited, just be careful. But we will be trying to help amplify some of these projects better because right now, all of the information about them is kind of scattered. A lot of them are new projects with small teams. So we're working on a web intake form right now so that there's a way for projects to submit and get listed on the ecosystem page that we're going to be relaunching on the eosnetwork.com site. Because one of the feedbacks that we have received both internally and externally is when people join the EOS community, they want to know what they could do on the chain, where they should go. So whenever the website first launched, the ecosystem page is a static page. I think there's like 8 projects listed, no filters. So in the near future, we'll have better filters, more projects listed, and a way for new projects to submit their information. And we're basically asking a lot of questions also that might be helpful to the community, like simple things like, are you audited? Yes or no, share the links. We'll have a point of contact for all the projects, have them verify their token contracts. So that's another thing as part of this process is there's a lot of new token contracts being deployed to the EVM. So just today, I uncovered someone in the community was sharing an image that had a fake BUSD contract address in it. So we need a way to kind of list verified tokens with the rest of the community. Because anyone could deploy a token contract on an EVM chain. Anyone can name it whatever token ticker they want. So it's a common scam phishing attempt that happens in Ethereum all the time. So we need to be proactive on that. And that's why in the pinned message in the EOS EVM Telegram group, you'll see a list of token contracts. Those are all the multi-chain wrapped tokens from their bridge. So the USDC, USDT, wrapped ETH, BNB, all of those token contracts are verified. We know that the multi-chain team deployed them. We know that they're secure, but anyone could deploy a contract and call it USDT, for example. And if you're on a swap, if you're not paying attention, sometimes people can make a mistake and swap for the wrong tokens on like Uniswap and things like that. So that's some of the things that we're working on. I'm kind of rambling here. I'll pause and see. What else did you want to know?
Nope, that was a great ramble, on point. I shared the link to the EOS EVM dev chat. I also shared the text for the contract addresses that are pinned in that chat for the multi-chain bridge official tokens. USDT, WETH, WBTC, USDC, DAI, BNB, and WEOS are on there. So definitely, be careful. Yeah, be careful out there.
One of the, I guess, things I would like to see, so we're working to document as much as we can, so how to use the bridge, how to do different things. If anyone in the community is interested in creating those kinds of materials, if you have the skill set to do it and the time to do it, please DM me. We could probably work out some, I guess, bounty type things to get that going. Once Pomelo has the bounty feature enabled, there's going to be a lot of this type of work on there where anyone in the community can create guides or videos on how to do different things. And we also need it on the EOS side too. So I know there's older reference materials on it, but one of the limitations with the EVM compared to what was kind of expected for launch. So going into the bridge is awesome. So if you've used the bridge to transfer EOS into the EVM, it's near instantaneous. By the time you sign the EOS transaction and have time to click your MetaMask wallet to see if the balance arrived, it's already there. Like I actually tried a couple of different transfers and tried clicking it fast enough to see if I could beat it, and I couldn't. So that's getting into the EVM. And you could do that from an exchange. So if you withdraw from Binance, you basically send it to an account called EOSIO.EVM, put your public key in the memo, and then your EOS just instantaneously shows up on the EVM side. The initial idea with the bridge, and it still is the goal of it, is to also allow EOS to be transferred out of the EVM directly to a centralized exchange. That way, that end user could like completely bypass the need to even touch an EOS wallet or EOS resources, because a lot of the new users coming in are Ethereum native. So the idea is to meet them where they're at, and they shouldn't need to engage with EOS native unless they want to. We highly encourage that they do, but we don't want to force them to. So the initial idea was that you'd be able to transfer your tokens out directly to an exchange. And that functionality works as far as the bridge is concerned and as far as the EVM is concerned. But we ran into an issue, and the issue is on the centralized exchanges side. So it's not a bridge issue. It's literally an issue with most of the centralized exchanges and how they monitor incoming token transfers. They just monitor them in a different way than it is ideal. And we weren't able to uncover that issue until after deploying to mainnet, because obviously we couldn't do a token deposit into Binance from the testnet. So we didn't learn about it until Friday during launch. So that was one of the limitations. So we disabled the ability to send tokens from the EVM to centralized exchange deposit addresses on EOS from the front end. So if you're advanced enough that you could just interact directly with the smart contracts, that's a risk that you're taking, but we blocked it from the front end until these issues could be addressed. But I just wanted to clarify that the reason, because I've seen the questions come up, the reasons that that you can't transfer EOS directly from the EVM to like Binance or KuCoin is because the exchanges themselves are going to need to make some changes on their end, and that's going to be a tedious process. It would be literally having to go one by one to every exchange. So likely what will happen is we're most likely going to focus on the top ones first and see how they react to it and the amount of work required. So far, I don't think we've received a response from Binance because a request was made to discuss it because they are the top exchange. And we are working on it. But for the time being, the way to get tokens from the EVM to Binance or KuCoin or Bitfinex or whatever, you have to transfer your tokens to an EOS native account and then to the exchange. So basically doing it the traditional way. But I did want to kind of explain this issue with the centralized exchanges. Give you all a chance to ask questions if you have any. But I did that's one other thing to note about the EOS EVM launch. That was one of the last minute surprises, because we actually launched the EVM about an hour, 2 hours before we shared all the public endpoints. And during that time, we were basically in two different war rooms. There was like a marketing war room where everyone was getting all of the materials ready for launch, all the documentation, all of the landing pages. And then in the other war room was all of the engineers. And as soon as the EVM was launched privately, I guess, because we didn't share the endpoints, like all of the exchange testing was going on. And that's whenever these things got uncovered.
So central exchanges, destinations, not so good, but Uniswap and PancakeSwap, blue skies?
What do you mean?
If those would be deployed on the EOS EVM, you could use the decentralized exchanges on the...
Oh, yeah. So that's decentralized exchanges are fine. And then also as more liquidity pours in, so there's been a lot of questions about liquidity, and things are in motion. You could check Yves' response to some of the comments last night in the ENF Telegram group. There's also, like, we have the Yield Plus program on the EOS native side. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It is still the goal to deploy Yield Plus to the EVM, but it's going to take some time. We don't have specific timelines right now, but that is the liquidity provisioning program we have for the EOS network. And it will at some point be extended to the EOS EVM. And then there's also other things in play. But for right now, if you want to transfer like tokens to Uniswap, you can. So that's the other thing too, is just because we've been talking about the multi-chain bridge as far as bringing liquidity in to the EVM, so you can transfer USDC in, USDT in, ETH in. You could actually also transfer EOS out. So that opens up the opportunity of like opening up liquidity pools on other chains. So if anyone did want to be a liquidity provider on Uniswap with, for example, EOS Ethereum pairs or EOS USDC pairs on PancakeSwap or on Uniswap, like that's all possible now too with the multi-chain bridge.
Anybody try moving checks to and from Ethereum? Any knowledge? Anybody? Curious.
I'm not sure if checks is tapped into the multi-chain router or not. So that's the other thing, is like there's only certain tokens. So multi-chain supports, I believe, 90 some assets on their bridge, but there's only about 10 of them that are being supported right now by the EOS EVM, and those are the tokens listed in the pinned message in the EVM chat, and they're in the documentation somewhere too. Those, because for every bridge token, you have to deploy contracts, basically. That's what it really comes down to, is if you want a specific token, you need to deploy a specific contract for it, like the mint burn contract. And so one, checks would need to be part of the multi-chain bridge. Two, there have to be an appetite for it. But I don't have an answer to that. I'm not part of their team.
I think we heard David last week say that they have their own bridges that they built, but he's open to using EVM.
I mean, they would still need to deploy it then. So they do have, you're right, I remember that now. They have the technology to bridge between, I guess, Antelope and BSC and Antelope and Ethereum. So yeah, it's 100% possible, but they would need to be the ones that would deploy it. Like, that's not something that the engineering team that built the EOS EVM is going to be doing.
Okay. Thanks for making that clear. Appreciate it.
It is unfortunate, that bug of not being able to withdraw to exchanges. I think it's the only hiccup I've heard of anyways since launch. So all things considered, not too bad. And at least it's the correct, like, it's kind of like the grayscale approach, right? People can deposit into the EOS EVM, but then they can't get out, which, you know, not the end of the world, in my opinion.
I mean, they can. They just need to have an EOS native account. So they have, if they want to get out, they have to create an account.
That's an impossible barrier, Zach. That's an impossible barrier for Ethereum users. So they're stuck forever in our EOS EVM, which I'm fine with.
So it's interesting, though, that it took 5 years. This conversation happened in like one of the engineering chats. It's interesting that it took 5 years for anyone to even realize this limitation with centralized exchanges. Basically, they're monitoring transactions on a, and I'm going to mess this up, but on a per block call basis. Maybe Denny could help. And what they need to be doing is looking at the traces of a transaction. So whenever you see like an atomic transaction with like 5 different things that happen within the transaction, and then the last step is that the tokens get transferred, they're not monitoring all of those traces. They're only watching for like very basic transactions, like whenever you send from like peer to peer, basically. So it's just interesting that for years, like this was never a limitation for exchanges because no one ever built any smart contracts that interacted with exchanges. And now we have like the bridge is a smart contract basically that manages the movement of funds through atomic transactions to make those withdrawals happen.
Yeah, that's.
I guess technically there's no easy fix on the EOS EVM side of things to accommodate these exchanges.
Just some exchanges work. It's just a lot of them don't because they don't support. They're not watching for inline actions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what, and the exchanges are being kind of tested, and right now I'm not sure which ones are blocked and which ones aren't blocked. So as a disclaimer, if you are going to send to a centralized exchange, it could work. Like you've said, there are definitely some that we have tested internally and they work. But I would suggest sending a small amount first before sending any large amounts to make sure that it arrives.
We prevent people in the UI from sending. So if you're manually trying to send, that's on you. So if you're interacting with the contract manually and you're trying to force it, even though we prevent it on the UI side of things, then yeah, that's an indication of don't do that.
Yeah, I'm also just pointing out that there might be deposit addresses that were not blocked because we just aren't aware of them. There's 200 exchanges that have EOS listed.
Yes.
So yeah, just use precaution for right now. Right now, what we are suggesting is transfer to your native account and then to an exchange. Because
but those
if you
in the UI anyway, so they won't be in the dropdown.
No, they're not.
So if you follow the UI,
follow my recommendation and never exit the EOS EVM. Solved.
That's a great idea. And the other, I guess, thing I've seen come up a lot from mostly EOS folk that are not familiar with how the Ethereum world works. If you are trying to play around with any of the swaps and you see a token called WEOS, W-E-O-S, all that is it's a wrapped EOS as an ERC20 token. That's caused a lot of confusion with people because they just aren't used to Ethereum. And the reason that most swaps, pretty much every swap does that, is because ERC20 to ERC20, it's like the same exact standard being swapped in these smart contracts. And basically, EOS is the equivalent of Ethereum in this case, because it's the protocol token. And the protocol tokens are different than ERC20 tokens. So on some of the swaps I've been playing with, so I've been trying to do like 1 to 5 EOS swaps on all of the swaps, just so I could kind of see what's going on in the EVM. And some of them won't let a swap go through if you try swapping with just the natively wrapped EOS. So in some cases, you might need to swap into wrapped EOS. And just so everyone knows, that is one of the smart contracts that we listed on the official list of tokens. It's an immutable contract. It was deployed by multi-chain. And essentially all it does is it just wraps your EOS token into an ERC20 version of EOS. So that's just like an FYI for anyone who's confused about that, because I've seen it come up about 5 or 6 times in the last 2 or 3 days.
EOS wrapper inception going on there. But I guess what's really nice is that we can liquidity provide with EOS on both sides, right? Wrapped EOS on one side, or like the EOS EVM EOS on one side and the WEOS on the other, right?
I'm not really sure. The really the really good UX is like abstract it from you. So on the front end, it feels like you're swapping with EOS, but in the background, it swaps from EOS to wrapped EOS to whatever you're trying to swap for. So that's what I'm guessing. The whatever DEX like rises above the rest and attracts the most liquidity. I'm hoping that they'll have the best UX and UI also, and that's like a functionality that Uniswap has. Like they should be abstracting the WEOS from the end users, but I noticed about half of the swaps currently are not.
All right, makes sense. I'm not sure if we're clearing things up for people. EOS is ETH, WEOS is WETH. Yeah, anyways. Hopefully you guys understood. If not, tag us in the chats here on Discord.
Yeah,
there's a very active EOS EVM chat on Telegram as well. And we're making sure that every message is read here on this Discord server. So we've got Yana on top of things there. So if you do leave a question somewhere, if we can't answer, we're actually at least going to tag someone who can answer your question.
Look for it in a second here, but the one of the benefits of the EVM is that we're able to tap into all of the open source code, the tooling, and the knowledge base that exists within the Ethereum space. So like I don't even need like WEOS. Me explaining it was probably not that great, but there's a million reference materials on WETH and what it is and the difference between ETH. So I'll drop a link here in a second. And if anyone ever has questions about anything related to the EVM, like we are currently like hawks on all of the chats, both the ENF chats, this Discord, and the EOS EVM Telegram group. We're monitoring it constantly, and we're happy to answer any questions because we know that, especially for the EOS native people learning about this, it's probably foreign to them. And then also for the Ethereum native people who, whenever they want to send like back to the exchanges, for example, and they need help with their EOS accounts or their resources or whatnot, we're on top of it. So feel free to reach out directly or in the public chats.
All right. Any more EOS EVM questions for today? Gonna give it a moment, and then we're gonna move on to some other quick hitter stories, and then invite a couple more guests on stage. All right, so we'll keep going, but anytime you guys, want to ask questions, regardless of the topic, you can do that, or you can wait for the open mic section at the end of the show to do that as well. All right, a little quick little heads up on the new series that the foundation has been publishing on their blog. Let me see here. Is Lliam around? Yes, Lliam is around. Maybe he can talk a bit about it. I think we introduced it a couple months back on the Fireside here. Basically, the series is powered by EOS, and they're kind of case studies that highlight various successful dApps on EOS and how the Antelope protocol enables these dApps. So there's a feature here on Chintai that I just shared. If you missed last week's Fireside, it was a great one. We had David Packham, CEO of Chintai, on the Fireside. He was with us for an hour chatting about all things Chintai and CBDCs and Ponzi-nomics. And a lot of people shared some feedback with me that it was actually one of their favorite Firesides in a while. So that was a great conversation. And then here you can read more about how Chintai is powered by EOS in this article. And then the other powered by EOS article that has come out recently features Defibox, one of the leading DeFi protocol on EOS. So some great information there, and also a great place to send people when they ask about, hey, what kind of apps are there on EOS? What can you do? This series aims to highlight some of the more successful apps on the network and gives us a good place to point to for people when they ask these types of questions. Lliam, anything else you want to add about these series?
I'd say you summed it up pretty well. There were, in addition to Chintai and in Defibox, there are two others that we've covered so far as well. We did one on BBS back in March, and I believe maybe all the way back in January, actually December was when we started it. So it's been a slow start with WordProof, which is another powerful application for timestamping blog posts onto the EOS network to sort of build out more trust online. And BBS is a decentralized messaging platform that really gets back to more of the ethos of messaging platforms like the dawn of the internet, in terms of maintaining things like censorship resistance and those sorts of values. So yeah, I would definitely go check out this series on the blog roll. If you've got a project that you want to be considered for it, just shoot me a message either on Discord here or on Telegram. My handle on Telegram is Lliam Buckley, all one word. Don't forget the 2 L's. And yeah, happy to see if we can work your project into the cadence. I guess the other thing I'll say is that these reports really serve a twofold. The first thing they do is, let our community know about these projects, know about what they're doing, and how they can engage with them and just get more involved. Find more things to do on the EOS network. But beyond that, and perhaps even more valuable in the long term, is really these serve as case studies for projects that might be considering launching on the EOS network. So more of a business to business customer-based audience base in that perspective, by highlighting the selling points on why you might want to build your application on EOS, right? So with Defibox, we were highlighting some of the things like Recover Plus, being a really good utility for DeFi applications. With Chintai, we were talking about things like the ability to reset account permissions, and with WordProof, low transaction fees. So these are all things that really are giving us that opportunity to highlight to potential businesses, developers, projects on why they might want to take their project to EOS and launch it here. And I'm sure down the line we'll start to compile all these, not just on the blog roll, but maybe on a dedicated page on the website, or have a dedicated tag so that we can sort of just send potential partners, to that place to sort of learn more about all the different reasons they might want to be building their applications on EOS. So yeah, go check them out. They're a good read.
Awesome. Thanks, Lliam. Quick note. When I was doing my research, there's not a blog category for this series. So you should definitely consider adding that to the blog.
Yeah, I think we're overhauling our taxonomy for the blog right now. So I'll have to make sure that we get that integrated in there as well when we do.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Lliam. Okay, our next piece of news for today, Hypha Beta Launch on EOS. So this has been quite an awaited development by many people in the EOS community, especially many people in the Eden and Fractal communities. And anyone that's kind of interested in DAOs in general should be excited for this launch. So if I understand correctly, what's now open is the waitlist to apply to become a beta tester for the Hypha DAO. And let me find the correct link here to share. So if you're interested in being a beta tester for the new Hypha DAO tooling, you can go onto their article, which I'm going to link here, and then follow the top link that's shared in there and put your name on the list to be able to try out Hypha DAO tooling as soon as possible. EOS Nation is on the list of beta testers. We've signed up. We're looking forward to playing around with that tool, seeing what it can offer and how we may be able to use it either internally for our own team engagement activities, or maybe even externally in some ways for some of the projects we work on within the EOS ecosystem. So very exciting. Check out the article, check out the tweets, sign up for the beta, and I'm going to leave it there for the Hypha DAO news for now. We'll obviously be talking more about this in the coming weeks, and we'll also have representatives from Hypha DAO join us on the fireside eventually in a couple weeks as well. So definitely lots of DAO news and updates to look forward to in the world of EOS native. And then here, let me share a couple more links, not directly linked to the beta, but more linked to general information about Hypha DAO. If you're curious, there's some content by Joachim Stroh, which is one of the leading members of the Hypha DAO team. And then he's got a couple of links here on sociocracy, which is kind of the philosophy that underpins their work on the Hypha DAO tooling. Hope I got that right. But yeah, so look, you guys can look forward to another great guest on one of the upcoming Fireside episodes. All right, our last quick hitter here before we got some more guests joining me on the stage. Yield Plus March report. I was supposed to review this last week, but somehow I forgot to do it. So I wanted to quickly share some of my favorite graphs from this report, like I usually like to do with these Yield Plus reports. So let me get right into it here. Sharing my first screenshot here, which shows that entropy trended upwards, reflecting increasing diversification of dApps. I'm not too sure exactly the math formula behind this, but we can see the chart going up and to the right, moving from 0.74 to about 0.79 or so by the end of the month. So nice little upwards movement there. Always good to see. My next favorite graph, of course, TVL to market cap comparison. We can see that it actually stayed even throughout the month. It dipped a bit at first, it rose a bit in the middle, and then kind of ended exactly where it started. So kind of neutral progress there. And then if we look at the same chart for since inception, TVL to market cap, we can see we had some nice gains from September to looks like end of February, and then it's kind of flattened out a bit. And then here we can see some descriptive text above this chart says that the trend depicted below of the TVL divided by market cap since its inception, it continues to oscillate, currently more on general market volatility, with TVL acting as a stable proxy for EOS idiosyncratic risk. What does that mean? I asked ChatGPT. Idiosyncratic risk means unique attributes of the EOS network. So the kind of variations that are going to come from the unique attributes of the EOS network compared to the variations that come from the general crypto market. So more learnings for me today. And then the final chart I want to show here is the total factor, which shows the stability from the fundamental growth of the program. Total factor moving from 0.19 to 0.20 over the course of the month. So overall, some small gains in some categories, some neutral action in others, and that's your short March 2023 Yield Plus report recap for today. I don't know if anyone has any comments or questions about this stuff. But I also linked the full report, of course, just above the images if you guys want to go check that out directly. All right, time to get some more guests on stage if they're still with us 2 hours after the start of the show. I think up next, we've got Gavin from SOV Invaders going to be joining us to talk EOS GameFi and what's going on with their game. Gavin, welcome back to the Fireside.
Hey man, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Coming in clear. Doing good. How are you?
I am doing well. Very tired, but doing pretty well, man. You'll have to forgive me a little bit. My brain's mush. We've all been up, working around the clock, crazy hours, getting everything ironed out to launch our game. So
yeah,
it's
so
cool
you guys,
right now.
Yeah, you guys, the game is live from what I understand, but you guys are doing a reset soon, or maybe it already happened by now?
Oh no, we did the reset. We did the reset and we started this morning because we tried to let everybody know ahead of time as best we could, because the way that we designed the game is every single NFT or every game asset is an NFT type, but it's not like your monkey JPEGs or anything that most people think of when they think about NFTs now in gaming. Is they're just the game's built on. They're pure utility. It's the atomic asset standard, and we set it up so that every NFT is I think there's 56 NFT types in the game, but every single NFT type is its own market. So we have them all hooked up to an algorithm. So anytime somebody buys, the price goes up. Anytime somebody sells, the price goes down. But it's a lot like RAM in the sense that it can never go below the starting price. So anyone who bought it right when the market's open, it's like almost impossible to lose. I was watching it, man. I was like fixing a little bug or something that I found right when we launched. So I wasn't actually able to partake in the very beginning like I wanted, but I saw like one of the species is or Repto or whatever it's the name of it. I saw them go from their base price is like 250 SOV. I saw it go to 1,000 SOV in like seconds. And then everything else started following suit. So we've seen, not all prices have gone like that, but we've seen a lot of prices on stuff already triple. There's people on the map having fun right now. I'm seeing it's pretty wild to look at. Right now there's somebody like building the very center, then somebody else built in the very center too. So you have like two different species with defense towers in each other's bases, and they're killing each other with tanks right now. And it's kind of fun because it's all for real money. And then anytime you kill somebody's NFT or whatever, it actually just gets sold to the market maker, to the algorithm, and then that person gets the value, and the SOV gets sent to them instantly. And then you can build collector buildings, and those things earn you passive income because anytime there's an action, well, it's a little bit, I could go into the details of the rules forever, but there's basically there's SOV cost built into a lot of the actions that are part of the game. Instead of us taking that for profit, like we're literally, there's no profit to the developers in this game right now, the way it stands. It's just meant to be something for the community. So everything literally goes back to the community. So there's little fees built in that kind of helps prevent bots and spam a little bit too. But also any of those fees, they get burned, and then they mine SVX, and then the SVX goes to all the collectors. So everybody with the collector gets to claim the SVX for the day. So they're building their little collectors. They're protecting them with towers. Some people are making money. Some people are losing money. But it's interesting. It's interesting. It's kind of like playing like it's kind of like playing like one of these old school games like XCOM, or I don't know. It's like a weird hybrid of XCOM and StarCraft, if you ask me. Because I call it real time strategy because it basically kind of is, because there's no set timer on like you can only do X amount of moves in this time, but everything's set on like a 5-second clock as far as like moving and attacking, but it's per unit. So if you have 10 units, you can still move all those 10 units in that 5-second, you know what I mean? It's per unit. So it's like a real-time strategy hybrid with a turn-based strategy, but it's very interesting, man. It's a combination of base building and war and all that good stuff, but it's kind of like the game that we all wanted to play. You know what I mean? It's the game that we wanted to create. It leverages all the stuff that we liked about like retro gaming back in the day, but then also with like blockchain and having real risk and reward, and then also like market theory is another reason why we set everything up to their own individual algorithmic relays is because we don't have to worry about balance as much, right? A lot of times when you're a developer and you're doing this, like these games and stuff, you have to constantly worry about balance. And, you know, what if one side gets too powerful and then they kill everybody and then this and then that? And the way it's set up, the more one side grows, the more expensive it is to be that side. So the other sides, it's going to be cheaper to be another species. So they're going to be that species. Also, more expensive it is, the more value there is in attacking that species, right? So then they're going to get taken down. So it's just naturally going to balance it out with these 4 different species battling it out. And then it's also cool because it's not just pure all-out war, because you have can't attack your own species. So you have teamwork. So if you're part of the human species, you know, you can't attack other human species. You guys are likely going to work together. So it has that element as well. But yeah, man, we're watching it live right now. It's pretty cool because you can watch people playing live. We're building it in a gaming engine as well right now, and we have that open to the public. It's basically kind of like a viewer. Like you can watch the whole game happening, like the entire world. And it's pretty big, so it can be a little bit resource intensive because we're rendering like, I don't know, man. It's like 40,000 base tiles, then the other assets on top of that, and they all have interactivity. So it can, when you're zoomed all the way out, it can hit your resources a little bit. But when you zoom in, it's a lot better because we destroy everything that's off screen. So if you're having problems like watching the game or anything like that, and you're having some FPS drops or anything like that, you can always zoom in some. You don't have to be completely zoomed out all the time. It'll definitely help out. But yeah, I'd be happy to, if anybody has any specific questions to answer, because as far as just like thinking new things, that's great. I would love to, because I can't think straight right now because I've been sleeping like 3 hours a night for I don't know how long, working around the clock. We all have. I mean, there's 3 of us making this, have developed this, and I'd say that what we've done is normally the work of a much larger team. But we've made some amazing headway, and the version in Phaser is coming together great. So we're really excited. But yes, please ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer them.
So how do I zoom out?
Oh, there you go.
So I'm on desktop. How do I zoom out?
Mouse wheel.
Mouse wheel just scrolls my wheel. Just scrolls the actual desktop tab. I guess it might be. You might need to refresh it. The node might be overloaded. That's one thing that I learned today. Need to set it up to like roaming nodes to be. It's just set to gray mass right now. That's like top of my list.
I think I know what he's saying, because I have the same thing. If you go to it on desktop and you try to click on it, it just scrolls the website like a normal website. It doesn't scroll within the frame.
You know, so I'm trying to actually zoom out to see more of the map, and I can't see more of the map. So I'm just doing the like very manual moving around.
I'm curious what race everyone is choosing.
That's not something that I've experienced at all. I in any testing, I haven't had any issue with that whatsoever. So I'll look into that. But what browser are you using? Chrome?
Chrome.
Tested exclusively in Chrome. That's interesting.
Yes, I'm basically, when I scroll up and down, I'm basically just scrolling in Chrome up and down. Obviously, if I press Control, then it just zooms out of Chrome and just makes everything smaller. But that's not what I'm trying to do.
No, yeah, that's no, I don't. Are you which side? Okay, I know what you're talking about. You're not on the Phaser app. You're on the GitHub website, right?
I'm GitHub, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't have Zoom.
So if I go to the other website, can I play on the other website though? I thought I had to play from GitHub.
You have to play from the GitHub one right now. The other website is application in the Phaser in the gaming engine that we're working on. So you can zoom out, you can scroll around, you can see live animations, you'll see the tanks attacking each other, you'll see particle effects, explosions, all that kind of stuff right now, but we don't have quite yet the ability for people to interact with it through the blockchain.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is I should have 2 tabs open, one that's EOSinvader.com and one that's SOV Invaders.com.
or your phone, or yeah, like.
Oh, I've got plenty of monitors. I'm good with having two different screens open.
We really, I kind of wanted to hold off for us to get more of the phaser done, but I mean, God knows how long. Honestly, it's tough to say how long it's going to be before we have full interactivity on that. I mean, like I was saying earlier, we're a team of 3. That's a gaming engine with particle effects, animations, explosion, all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot. It's a lot for 3 guys to handle. It's a lot. So we didn't want to hold off on launching the game really that much longer. We wanted to get it into the wild. We wanted to have community feedback to see what things we could maybe implement differently and just kind of see what everybody would do with it. And we knew that if we would just keep pushing it out to have everything perfect in some gaming engine like you see from a bigger studio with just 3 guys, you know what I mean? Who knows when we'd launch? And we've done all this just out of pure passion for the community. Like literally one of our main intentions to do it was to try to attract people from outside EOS into EOS, because it's cool, man. It's like the exact type of game that we've always wanted to be able to play on blockchain, and like a combination of real-time strategy and old school games like XCOM. It's got like the spooky sci-fi theme. It's got some really cool effects going on in the Phaser app. Like it's got a 3D effect, like you zoom in, you zoom out. It's the background moves with it in different levels. It's cool, man. Like you'll be able to watch people just like going at war and stuff. And like the literally the particle effects are awesome. The explosions. But yeah, if we held off to get all the functionality that we have in the more static version, it's only loading like 16 by 16 tiles at a time, right? That's only loading like, or 11 by 11 or something like that. So we're talking about like 100 and 120, 130 interactive tiles or whatever. In the Phaser application, we're loading 40,000. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a difference. So there's other things that we need to do as well, as far as being able to optimize. Like we've optimized many things to be able to get it to where it is, but there's definitely a lot more things that we need to do to optimize it, to have it to be at level that we would like it to be, in the level that people are going to be really attracted and want to play it from outside of blockchain. Like not even important that it's on blockchain or not. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is a strategy game that I can play for real money and earn real money. And it's like nobody can take it away from me, and the developers can't take away my NFTs, or they can't change my base or anything like that. Like yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. But yeah, I have it up on, there's 2 different sites actually, which probably isn't the best idea, but I have the Phaser version up on, you should use HTTPS too, because sometimes the wildcard won't direct you to the SL version, but HTTPS EOSInvaders.com, and then also the same, but SOVinvaders.fun. I was more recently kind of pushing the EOSInvaders.com thing because I was looking at analytics when I was mentioning on Twitter and other places, and I was getting better analytics when I was using EOSInvaders.com. But we're also planning on using that to obfuscate SOV from the game as well. Like it's all built on SOV. SOV is always going to be the in-game currency, but we also have our own algorithmic DEX. So we have the ability to basically let people just play in EOS, and we can handle all the swaps on the back end. So they can play in EOS, can see the prices in EOS, they can buy in EOS, they can just do everything in EOS. They don't have to worry about managing another token or anything like that.
Very cool. Very cool. This was a great sleep deprived rant so far. Thanks a lot for coming on. Those are great images that I'm seeing shared in the chat. I shared a couple ones as well. You got the overall map view, and then some more zoomed in views with the different buildings. Looks very cool. Like you said, all of those game elements that you mentioned, I'm a big fan of real-time strategy. That's my thing, or at least it was when I had time for gaming. There's only one thing missing from your game for me to get in there. And that's the ability for this game to add more hours to my day so I can get in there and start gaming. But I'm
just go with sleep deprivation.
Yeah, I'm already halfway there, but definitely willing to sacrifice at least a couple hours this week to get in there. Very, very cool concept. Very cool of you guys to develop this, without taking any profits for yourselves. A very, very cool thing for you to do for the EOS community. So I hope a lot of us get in there, build the base, test it out.
I'll be clear too. I'll just say one quick thing, but I mean, I think that there's opportunities for us to make money on this in time, especially when we're developing another front end that's going to has the functionality of Phaser. There's a possibility that we have the GitHub version open and free to all forever, and then we can possibly charge for the other one. There's ways to monetize it on second layers, and we've definitely been considering that. So it's not like a pure charity, so to speak, but we do always want to have a version that's everybody's able to access, that's open source, that's just ready to go as such as that. But as far as like there being opportunities for tools, there's a lot, because it's being built a lot like what you'd see Bitcoin being built as, like open as it is. And then there could be people that could be building all kinds of second layer services on top of it, like bots, for example. Like you hook up an artificial intelligence to it that automatically defends everything while you're sleeping, or goes out and attacks other people because you're earning money when it's happening. So if you have an edge by using a better front end, or if you have an edge by having easy access to scripts to be able to manage your militaries and stuff like that, there's a good chance that there's ways to monetize that as well. So there's a lot of opportunity as far as the future of it, if it has success and people like it. So hopefully people like it.
EOS community against the AI bots out here in SOV Invaders.
Yeah. Let us know your feedback. I know today it's obviously it's the first time it's been open. There's a lot more people using the nodes. Before it was just us testing. We were using EOS Greymass. Sorry about that, Aaron. I'm sure we're absolutely hitting your API way too hard today. I will be working diligently to spread that out. Sorry about that, but yeah, my apologies if you have some issues with the experience. It will get better, but definitely let us know your feedback, and we're very open to it. And it's what we need to be able to fine tune it and get it to where everybody wants it to be.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on the Fireside, and
thanks for having me.
Welcome back anytime with some cool SOV GameFi updates for us. Looking forward to it. All right, next up, our final guest of the day is DJSTRIKANOVA, still with us over 2 hours deep into this Fireside. Looks like he still is.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Definitely not least, DJSTRIKANOVA, welcome to the Fireside. Round of applause for you.
You hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
we can hear you.
Cool. Right, yeah, so I'm an Effect DAO member, DJSTRIKANOVA, and so I guess I'll just like post some links or a quick primer on what Effect Network is, but it's basically a microtasking protocol built on EOS, so it uses EOS smart contracts, and it allows workers to complete tasks in exchange for EFX. And so here I'll post the link here, and you can basically log in with your EOS account and sign up to the platform to do tasks. You may see an error complaining about a batch. That's okay, you can close it. But I also put out some stable diffusion tasks, a little project I wrote out a while ago. It's a 50 EFX reward, and any of you can do it right now if you want it. But you can basically use stable diffusion to create me an image. So aside from that, in more like recent news, the Defibox is doing a promotion right tomorrow, where you can stay to put in to the liquidity pool your EFX and EOS and earn rewards with Box and EFX tokens. And let's see here. Let me post the promotion stuff. Well, someone else I can do that later. But basically, there's a lot of stuff going on with Effect Network. At Rochelle, there's a lot of marketing, and we're basically doing a big push on AI-related stuff. In particular, like something I've been working on that's related to the grant I got in Pomelo, the NFT indexer, which I've made pretty good progress on. But basically, I collected 2 million, or rather, there are 2 million assets on Atomic Hub for EOS. And of those 2 million assets, there's about 20,000 unique IPFS hashes. And of those IPFS hashes, the subset of them are image files. There are PNGs, JPEGs. And so I was able to download them all and use Hugging Face to process them and figure out what is in the content of that image. So like if you look at this other screenshot, they can look at those Pomelo astronauts and generate text saying what it thinks it is. And whether how accurate that is a question, because I think the first phrase is the most accurate, and then at the end it's the least accurate. But how this all applies to Effect Network is the general idea we have is that you can use Effect Network to build data sets. So you could have, right now, there are apps that use Effect Network. You can submit an NFT and a human worker can annotate it and tell you what's in the content. As with AI, we're now getting all these new image recognition tools that are incredibly easy to use. And there's a lot of new models coming about. And so an idea that I'm going to be working on is that you can have all these captions and human workers can be used to evaluate whether the caption is good. So you can do this types of caption generation for these NFTs and use many different models and then have workers evaluate which models are the best and rate them accordingly. And so I've been talking, I got the DoorHacks team originally because I learned that the EOS did a hackathon on DoorHacks. So I looked into it and I was able to connect to the Effect Network team. And it's still kind of in the planning stages, but the idea is having a hackathon on DoorHacks to help create a competition over making like great data sets that could be used for AI and hopefully have them like posted on places like Kaggle or maybe Ocean Protocol. And I'd say that's, I think that summarizes everything I said. Oh, aside from that, we had a DAO call today too. So if you want to listen to like the CEO talk about what's going on, such as like we had a conversation about AutoGPT too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Basically, having GPT-4 run on itself and evaluate itself until it completes a task you want to do. Just speculation on how Effect workers can be used for that. But yeah, I think I talked really fast. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead about microtasking on Effect Network.
Very cool. Thank you for those updates. Again, love to hear all of these AI integrations going on with some of the teams that have been in the EOS space for a while. Very exciting stuff going on in that space. Of course, everything's moving at breakneck speeds. I can't keep up, so I love hearing updates from you guys about it. See, there's lots of chatter about SOV Invaders. People are getting in there, choosing their races, asking questions in the chat. Love to see it, guys. Maybe you'll see me later on tonight. Once everyone's
asked a question about EOS EVM, and yeah, I think everyone on the Effect Network wants to do it, but we need to figure out the bridge side so we can get the EFX tokens onto EOS EVM. We have talked with P tokens, but for now, it's still kind of in the air of the best way to do it.
There you go, DJSTRIKANOVA, making sure he's not missing any questions in the chat, even if I may miss them. Good stuff, man. All right, and our final story of the day, we got some Pomelo updates, small updates, lore updates, NFT updates. For those of you waiting for the final analysis article, it's not yet ready, but fairly confident it's going to be ready at least for next Fireside, maybe before that as well. But today, if you're following the @Pomelo Grants Twitter account, you have noticed a new post about some Pomelo lore, kind of teasing a bit what's going on in the Pomelo universe. Chronicles of Pomelo had its latest edition posted here. I'll share the link on Twitter, hinting at some games, maybe some astronauts that are going on missions. For example, the Pomelo astronaut ordinal mission is about to lock in. Less than 24 hours left for you to send your Pomelo astronaut onto a mission to explore the Bitcoin ordinal planet. You can go do that at harvest.pomelo.io if you haven't done so yet. If you're wondering if you should send your astronaut or not, I'd lean towards sending it, especially if you have a spare one. Definitely send one of those guys over for the mission. Should be a good time. All right, and then that's going to wrap it up for the topics today. I want to give you guys a reminder. Oh, Martin.
Hey. Hello, everyone.
Hey, I wasn't sure if you were still with us. I know it's kind of late out there for you.
Yeah, I'm outside now taking a walk with my dog, so I wasn't sure if I still got good connection, but I can elaborate a little bit on the basically like the lore, the recent blends that became live. So similar like the season 5 analysis is wrapping up, and we're also the NFT activities and the lore is kind of going to like finalizing season 5 activities and like going to the next chapter. And the recent lore update gives you a little bit of context to like the recent blend. For example, the cryo chamber is explained there and how it's going to be used for deep space travel and why it's important. Yeah, that's kind of the issue of the part of the lore. Also, the ordinal mission. Really, like as Steph said, like send your astronaut in because it's going to be like a rare bunch of heroes who are going to go to this black hole to explore a parallel universe. So there's a lot of stuff that you see in the lore. The recent blend that came up is basically all the common parts you can blend together into a cryo chamber, which you then can use with all the rare parts to blend like the Ultima Universalis starship. Which will be a really rare spaceship, and in season 6 we will explore what these starships can do and where they can go. So in the lore you find a lot of hints, and maybe we can. Steph actually mentioned already, like there might be some gaming activities involved in season 6. We're going to switch it up a lot with the NFTs in the next season. So there will be a couple of new things, and these will be the last plans. And get your ingredients ready so you can get all your resources, all the items that you need to go with us on this deep space travel to search for Pomelo Planet, the Pomelo universe. Maybe take a detour to the Bitcoin parallel universe. You know, there's a lot of stock, and it's great fun building these things for you. And happy you guys enjoy it.
All right, good stuff, Martin. Thank you for that update on Pomelo lore. All right, before we wrap up the show here, want to remind everyone, those who want to submit questions, topics, etc. I'm going to share the link to the Google form again. There was actually a new question last week or the week before asking about what EOS is doing in terms of unique marketing. And so I figured I would share the answer that Patty, the Chief Marketing Officer from the ENF, has previously shared with us on previous Firesides. So I've got 2 clips here from Patty that you can go check out and to listen kind of to the big picture overall marketing strategy that Patty and the rest of the marketing team at the ENF are doing for the EOS network. So there you go. Thank you for submitting that question. All right, at this point, we can open up the floor to anyone else who has updates from their projects or questions or comments. If you guys want to talk off topic, banter, talk about Gary Gensler getting grilled this week in the US, or any other topic you guys want to bring up, now's the time to do it. I didn't actually get to watch any. I saw a couple clips, but yeah, if you guys have feedback or thoughts on how that went,
I want to hear about this. Like, what happened? I mean, what did he get grilled over?
Everything. Hold on, let me mute SOV. Give me a second. So basically, they put out, I think it was a bill or a letter, which was signed by a bunch of different, basically every Republican who pays his bills. And they were talking about how he was doing very bad for the American investors. He wasn't giving proper guidance to companies. One of the sentences they said was that he was it monopoly rules or something like that, where you can get into the crypto ecosystem, but there's no way to get out under his rules. So he was allowing investors to basically get shafted. And he just sat there trembling and unable to answer their questions. It's a really good watch. Nothing that anybody here could say could possibly give justice to what occurred in that video. So anybody who hasn't seen it, you should definitely go check it out.
Wow, that sounds epic. Definitely gonna add that to my list of videos to watch tonight while I'm playing SOV on the side.
I will check it out. Links. Who was he getting grilled by? Was this like Congress or just like a reporter?
Yeah, Congress.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be good. Surprised they found. Surprised anyone was able to ask intelligent questions. Surprised they could grill anyone. But yeah, I'm excited to watch this. Thank you.
Grilled is like an understatement, honestly.
Steph, play the audio. I shared it in the voice chat.
Uh-oh, how do I do that?
Just click the tweet. I don't know, your mic should maybe pick it up.
Let me see, maybe we can do a watch everyone together feature. Although usually not everyone gets to watch, only some lucky people get to watch, but we'll see. We'll try it out.
People could always just click it themselves too. We could do it the old-fashioned way, self-serve.
That's true, but that's very boring.
Like long distance relationship, we'll all watch TV while we're on the phone.
All right, watch together. YouTube. No, it's not YouTube. It's Twitter. Oh.
Yeah, I was just thinking I don't know if you have headphones in or not. If anyone's not using headphones, you could just.
But okay, let's.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm totally lost here in these features. Leave activity. Still going.
I think my audio will play right through the soundboard if you want me to try.
Do it.
All right, run it.
All right, let me know if it's not working. It should start here momentarily.
Nothing on my side.
Silent. Yeah, silent so far.
Hear it now?
Nah.
Nope.
Guess we'll just have to watch it on our own. It's great though.
With if any kind of PC you're on is going to cancel out the signal from your headphones, from your speakers.
Yeah, it's actually not through my speakers. For some reason, I have this. It happens when I don't want it to. Like, I just asked Zack. I'll click on a like a YouTube link, and he'll be like, "What do you?" It'll start playing the sound.
Yeah, you made me.
I'm like, I'll be queuing it up for later.
I don't know how committed you guys are to this. I can try real quick. I think I could make it happen, but it'd probably sound like crap.
Somebody get a line in, line out right now.
Someone connect us to the internets.
Maybe Dave can help us out. Dave's got all the fancy tech. Dave, you can stop the screen.
Like virtual line in audio interfaces you can get.
Is it just this one that's 3 minutes?
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 minutes.
All right, let me try.
Dave, all good. Cut the stream, Dave, and we can just watch during the after party.